What's going on, people? It's Mr. back again. And yes, it's another content today. And I thought I'd do something different today. Get the boys in. No match for 2 weeks. We're bored. Quite told Dylan's face. He looks really cheesed off at the moment. Sorry, Dylan.
Don't make me laugh.
Dylan's had a tooth taken out, so he can't talk much. So people in the comments, get Dylan and
target Dylan.
Target Dylan, please, because he deserves it. But yeah, if no one knows everyone, we'll introduce everyone. On my other side there's Lee. How you doing, Lee?
DoreOnTour. Oh yeah! Shout out to Lee Tilson and Ollie. I'm good, Dor. I'm fantastic. How are you? How are you?
I'm all good.
I'm very good. I'm happy.
Oh, right. I didn't see that coming, but what a bell end. We've got the man himself, YouTube legend, Des. How you doing, Des?
I'm good. I don't think I'm going to upset my neighbours though. By
I know my neighbours love me. I turned it down as well.
Oh my God! And last but not least, we got Mr. Cole back. Dylan Aston. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm all right, thank you.
Oh, good. All right, so people, like, as you know, the title of the thing, we're ranking ex-Nottingham Forest managers, and you know what? Before, like this, there's no game for the next 2 weeks, and we thought we'd have a little fun. And I thought we'd get the older generation because some of the younger generation won't know older red trace like the 90s and the early 20s. So we thought we would have fun, and I'll get the tier list out now. So this is the tier list, people. So if you want to join in, we're going to start with from the 93 to the till the 2021. Boys, are you not ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready, Lee? Are you ready, Des?
Yeah.
So people like, and people. So people, if you want to join in, please join in. It's going to be fun. Like, we've got there's nothing else that we can do. So we're going to start with the Nottingham Forest legend, and we don't know. Do we have to put him in? I shouldn't have put him in. Sir Brian Clough. Can't see Des, can we? Brian Clough we'll start with. Boys, where are we putting the legend?
Goes without saying.
Elite level.
Goes without saying. There's no argument on this one, is there?
There's no argument. So
No.
people, if you disagree with that, get out of the chat.
If you disagree, you're not a Forest fan. Go away.
Get off the chat.
If you disagree, you're not a football fan.
You're not a football fan. So people like saying, there's no question. The Lallans of God has been a elite level. So next one is Frank Clark. And people, where should we put Frank Clark? We'll start with you. Go on. Who wants to go first? Daz, Lee, anyone?
Go on. Frank Clark, for me, I've made a list in order of every single manager where I think they would rank. And for me, after Brian Clough, Frank Clark's right at the top. So he would be in that sort of high level. We got the promotion, we got to Europe, one team in Europe and all that, and he worked with, apparently there were Clough signings, but he worked with the likes of Collymore and Bowen and Cooper and people like that, but he did what he had to do, and of course he's a club legend. Why wouldn't he be in that elite level? He's the best manager we've had since Brian Clough.
Yeah. Dylan or Lee, do you agree with it? Yes or no?
Yeah,
I agree. I agree
with Des because I'm trying to go from memory because I haven't made a list. So I'm trying to remember from when I was growing up and so on. And Clark always did well. We had good players. We had a good team. I think he did a decent job. So I agree with Des on that.
Yeah, people in the comments, do you agree with? I know the younger generation won't remember Frank Clark, but I remember him, and he's definitely going.
I remember playing Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul McGregor.
On a Wednesday night.
Paul McGregor,
I remember coming back from Junior Reds, and the floodlights are on.
They were the days.
Right. So the next one, what year was it? It was it was 97, 98. Dave Bassett. When did he come in? He came in. Was it mid-season? that he came in.
Yeah, he come in to help Pearce out, didn't he? Because Pearce was made caretaker at the time.
Yeah, people before we're not including the caretaker managers or Steve Cooper. So we're not going to forget about them. So Stuart Pearce was a caretaker manager by that time. So we're not going to include Pearce at the time. So next one is Dave Bassett. We'll start with you, Dylan. Where would you put Bassett in your era? Then we'll go with Des and Lee.
I would put him probably. He's got to be between good and elite, but I don't think he's. Yeah, he's got to. For me, good because he got us promoted. But I think anybody with that team that year would have got us promoted anyway.
What about you, Dylan? I mean, Lee or Des, do you agree or disagree?
It's from the championship, weren't it?
Yeah.
Or Division 2. He was all right. I wouldn't say he was outstanding.
He's underrated?
No, because that makes him sound like he's better than he was. I don't know. What do you think, Des?
I disagree slightly. I think he's right up there. You know, one of the last really good managers we've had. I've got him second on my list. Because, yes, I agree with Dylan. The team that came down was had the potential to go straight back up.
Yeah.
But the way we did go back up and the way we went about it, last week when you were speaking to Kevin Campbell, I keep sort of reminiscing about away games when we went and won 3-4-0 or scored 4 goals at home to Middlesbrough. We played Middlesbrough that year, first, second, and we would beat them 4-0. You know, so games like that and the likes of Bart Williams, and it wasn't as straightforward at the start of the season. And I remember Cooper playing in midfield, just little tactical things. And he brought in Dave Bassett, I believe. And again, another really good signing for Forest. You know, somebody who did a really good job. So I think it was at the time it was a horse for a course, wasn't it? He was a top. Yeah. He was the man to get us promoted. He was like the Neil Warnock of the last few years, or someone like that to get us.
Did
he bring in Van Hooijdonk?
Was it 7-0? Do you remember when we battered them?
That
was Frank Clark.
That was Frank Clark.
Yeah,
I remember that also.
Was it Bassett who brought in Hooijdonk?
No, that was
Pierce, wasn't it? It was him and Pierce sort of when they were working together. Van Hooijdonk came. The transfer deadline day used to be mid-March, about 6 weeks before the end of the season, and you couldn't sign anybody else. And we signed him from Celtic. And I always remember, this is just, it's not really relevant, but I remember seeing the news on the Big Breakfast. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
That one's rated.
But I reckon, for me, he's just a little bit behind Frank Clark.
Okay. People in the comments, what do you think about Bassett?
He's the last manager. He's the only manager
to get promoted.
To get us promoted into the Premiership. So he's probably got to be third.
Yeah.
So, have you put Frank Clark as elite then, not good?
I put Frank Clark as elite because me personally, I think he was fantastic. But if you disagree,
he was a great manager.
Listen, at the end, we'll change. At the end, when we finish everything, we'll change things around. People will say, "Well, great, we disagree." So, where do you think? Good under. I don't know.
For me, Dor, if I'd have Cloughie even higher than that. So, but
yeah, exactly.
So I would have
a God level.
Yeah. So Frank Clark and Dave Bassett in that bracket.
Yeah.
For me.
So would you put him good?
Put him in good then.
I'd put him in good personally.
We'll put Clark in good then.
No, I'd keep Clark.
There.
Keep Clark in the elite because he got us to third in the Premiership.
Okay. Right. So I put Bassett in good then.
And what you have to remember about Bassett is he got sacked, but we know how the club sold players from under him. Do you know, Campbell, Van Hooijdonk, Demel. Do you know all the decent players who went on to have good Premiership careers? Do you know, and that got taken away from him.
It's not what it is now. When you get promoted or the cash injection, it was get promoted and try to slash your squad.
Okay, so I put Bassett in the good then. Right then. I'm going to go through the comments, and I've got some guy called Matchday Max. If everyone knows who he is, make sure you unsubscribe to him, because some random guy or kid that he likes to pop on my channel sometimes. Bassett is a great championship. He went to get rid of Kevin Carroll, messed it up. I don't know. So I still think Bassett was underrated, if I'm honest. But yeah. Right. So next one, Ron Atkinson.
Here we go.
Me, no comment. He was shocking.
Oh days.
That one, was it?
Failure.
Do you know when they interviewed him before he came? I can't remember if it was Sky Sports News or whatever it was at the time.
Did he sit in the wrong dugout?
He did, but before he even came, before he got the job, we had an interview with him, and he was sat on a beach with no top on in Barbados, saying that he'd talked to Forest when he came back. We should have seen it. We should have seen it coming.
He's like a Barry Fry, isn't he? He's just a strange guy. He was.
Did you ever watch the documentary he did? I watched it a couple of months ago. I think it's on YouTube or something, where he went into Peterborough when obviously Barry Fry was there, and he had to try and get up the league or help the managing team out, and to see how football was run them days. Jesus Christ!
He was just deluded, though, wasn't he? Like mentally, I don't think he was all there.
Right. So people in the comments, where would you put Ron Atkinson? I'll start with you, Lee. Where would you put him?
I'll put him in no comment, because I've got someone for failure who was a failure. So I'll put him in no comment for me. I think he meant well, but he wasn't right in the head.
Right.
I think he was. I put him in no comment. You know, there was. He does. I don't think we cared enough about him, and he cared about us. You know, he did. There was a bizarre thing towards the end of that season where he'd signed a load of loan players.
Yeah.
Hugo Porfirio and a couple of others. As soon as we got relegated, he put them all in the team. And then we won the last 3 games.
Yeah. It was a strange it was
bizarre.
You weren't all there. It was funny though.
So where's everyone thinking?
No comment. No comment.
Right. No comment. Right. Next one.
Failure.
Yeah. David Platt. Right. Let me say something about David Platt. Okay, because as people can remember, I did some interviews with Forest players that worked under David Platt, and they said he was a good coach. He was a good coach. There was no problems with them. But as Forest fans, remember bad things that he did off the pitch, like he took down he took away the medals, the trophies, and all that. But
wasted a lot of money on
wasted a lot of money.
I don't swear too much.
Who should start with? Dylan. What are we doing? David Platt.
Underrated for me.
Really?
For me, yeah, because if you listen to it, if you look back all them years ago, he had 15 million quid, which is nothing now. It'll probably only get you. Yeah. Yeah. So them days he bought crap and that. But when, like you say, you've talked to ex-players under him, and a lot of people said that he was a coach ahead of his time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think, and the only reason he left Forest was because he got the under-21 job at the time.
Yeah.
So, me personally, I think he's underrated for me. But, yeah.
Des?
I'm inclined to agree with Dylan. Do you know, looking at my list again, I've actually got him 10th out of 22. So
have you?
A lot higher than I thought he would be when I was making the list. Do you know, he was, I see the comment there, it was terrible. That first season, do you know, it was a bit of a real shock to the system when we'd been sort of, we'd either been in the Premier League and done well, or we'd done really well in the Championship. Do you know, we bounced back a couple of times. You know, so that sort of third time was a massive hit when we went down. And I think The first season was terrible, and we were never seriously flirting with relegation. We finished quite strong, but not in the playoffs. And then the second one, again, we was teetering on the playoffs, and we just fell away a little bit, and it just felt like another season. And he might have got it right. He was under a lot of pressure because we all got on his back. In hindsight, looking at some of the shite we've had since, he's nowhere near the bottom of the list. And again, listening to the players, we all listen to some of the things we say. Alan Rodgers, who's notoriously difficult, I guess, in ways, and people like that. They say what good coaching he had. The problem was those signings, wasn't there? And it wasn't
Italians. The players that Ted's on about is Italian.
They were his mates, weren't they? Who he'd played with in Italy. He was like the wife of the management world. He'd bringing all his mates and everything. It was shocking. For me, it was a failure. A lot of money. You've got to remember, though, you say 15 million is not a lot. Back then, 15 million was a lot of money to waste. It took us ages to recover from it.
Yeah, but the only thing from his time is that everyone remembers is the 3 Italians. And like Des says, we didn't flirt with relegation, but we never got into the playoff. We was always mid-table. And like if we'd have given him that extra season, or if he'd have took that extra season, maybe we would have pushed on. Do you know what I mean? So to me, his failure was the 3 Italian players. That was it.
Yeah, his mates. That's what he did.
You say that one or two of the signings, other signings, was shite as well. Do you know Gary Jones? I don't know.
Gary Jones.
Yeah, Gary Jones. I remember Gary Jones. Wait, it did buy David Johnson for 3 million.
And he was rubbish under Platt as well.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, I just felt it was sort of coming together, and I think it was his. I know it was his first job as well, wasn't it? So he was going to make mistakes. He come from Arsenal. I tell you what people forget about him, and I know this is not the conversation. He was one hell of a player.
He played for us for a bit.
He used to come on, didn't he?
When he played, he was the best player on the pitch by a mile.
Yeah.
I remember him scoring a header, if I remember rightly.
Sheffield United, maybe.
For me, it's still a failure. It took us ages to recover from what he did. Whether it's all his fault, we'll never know. But for me...
So what's the thing? Where are we putting Platt then?
People in the comments,
what do you think about David Platt?
When I say failure, we're all split.
Right, elite, you can put elite, good, underrated, no comment, and failure. Me personally, with Platt, underrated.
Majority rules.
Me too.
Underrated.
Yeah, me too.
Because one of the comment sections was players. Grant was great player, crap manager, probably too far ahead of the coaching style. Maybe as well. A lot of money Forest didn't have.
I agree with Chapo.
Failure.
There you go.
No comment. Underrated. Bottom still owes his money.
Yeah, probably still paying him off.
So where are putting him?
Failure.
Underrated.
Underrated. I think I'll put him at underrated.
Majority rules.
Right. So next one. Paul Hart. And
awesome. Paul Hart.
Let me start with you, Daz. Paul Hart.
Paul Hart was. Do you know when sort of Platt had gone and he left us in that mess and we didn't know what was happening next? And I remember the first game of the season being absolutely wowed by what I was seeing. Paul Hart had come in, hadn't he? And it just changed everything, didn't it? The kids, Jealous, Andy Reid, he brought Andy Reid on. I think they'd both already made the debut, to be honest. But I think just that first game that we played Sheffield United, I believe, and I was just not expecting anything. And then when Paul Hart came in, and what a season that was! What a team! The young lads. That John Owen Harewood up front.
Yeah.
He just got them playing, didn't he? He just got them playing.
Yeah.
He got them playing. It was Forest through and through. He kind of understood the club. He understood. he obviously understood kids, and they were just awesome, weren't they? You know, and you look back at that. We all look back at that season and think that was the massive chance, don't we? You know, 2-0 up Bramall Lane.
Don't mention it.
5-0 with Earwood up front. Was it Earwood and Jono or someone up front? We beat them 5-0 at home, didn't we? Was it that season?
We beat Stoke, didn't we? 6-0.
We beat Stoke 6-0. We beat Norwich 4-0.
Wimbledon 5-0 Norwich.
6-0 maybe.
We battered everyone. That's the problem. We battered.
It was just such a great team that was, wasn't it? It was entertaining as well.
So people in the comments, where would you put Paul Hart? Because
he's got to be up. He's got to be up around the good level. It's got to be.
Right. Right, Dylan. Where would you put him? That's what people.
I'm a bit torn because what he did was got us. We crashed out the playoffs, obviously, but what he did with bringing all them youth players in, to me, puts him kind of elite. But then, I'm torn between underrated and good because he was a good manager. We did whatever we did under him, but I think some people don't give him enough credit. So that's why I put him in either them three, because people kind of forget that he came in, he had to mop up after Platt. He brought all these young players in. He even brought Des Walker back.
Yeah, he did.
To the club to play with Dawson.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly. So to me, it's hard for me. But if I had to pick it, I'd probably have to put him in good to put him between it.
Well. Okay. He was a brilliant manager. He was a really good manager. He was a genuine guy as well, weren't he? He did care about what he did. You know, he was bothered.
So where's everyone? Where should we put him then? I personally, my opinion, I put him as good.
I'll say good as well.
I'll say good, but as well, people in the comments put comments in. Des, where would you put him, Des?
I'd say good. He's behind Frank Clark and Bassett for me as the next one in the list. You know, because of all those things he did. He brought excitement again, didn't he? You know, he gave us hope. I just remember going away and thinking, can we? Do you know those being 2-0 up, going back to that game, which is the worst and best game I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah.
Do you know, all in one. Do you know that day? You know, being 2-0 up there, and you just think that could have been it. And I just think support. I know he fell out with Nigel Doughty, didn't he? Apparently, he applied for the West Ham, and he fell out, and then they sort of come in and things like that. So, yeah, for me, really good. Even if Clough wasn't in that bracket, I'd have Bassett and Clark. So good, you know. I don't think anybody underrated these days for what he did was.
Right, so everyone said Paul Hart was good, yeah?
Yeah.
So Paul Hart was good. Next one. Can everyone remember the next one?
Joking it.
Joking it.
Big joking here coats, don't they?
You know what? So again, my opinion on Joe Kinnear, right? When Paul Hart got sacked, he come in, and I think we were struggling to pull out the second season. Was it the third season? He was with Forest, and then he brought. Can you remember Paul Evans?
Yeah.
The best player in the world for 50 grand.
We brought him.
Didn't we get him from Bradford or something like that?
Yeah, we brought in Paul Evans, and Forest started going. I think we lost one game in 17 that season, and the next season it was just awful. So, Lee, people as well. Where would you put Joe Kinnear? As well, there's 42 people in. Comment below. Where would you put Joe Kinnear? Lee,
I'm kind of in between no comment and underrated. He was like that, weren't it? He weren't brilliant, was it?
He didn't last long though.
No, that's what I'm saying. He didn't last long. He wasn't brilliant. He was almost like a comedy act, weren't it?
Yeah, he was only there for 10 months.
Do you know why he didn't last long? Because he disrespected Brian Clough's funeral.
Yes, he did.
When we played West Ham, he said it's just another game or something. You know, and he said the same about Derby. And
yes. Are you pissed off?
The fans just basically said, "Get out."
Wow.
Yeah.
He just said we had a big sort of thing about the West Ham game when Clough died, and he just said, "No, it's a distraction."
Yeah.
And then he was on borrowed time from that because we were crap anyway.
No comment then.
So people who will put Joe Kinnear, like what's everyone saying? No comment or failure?
I say no comment for me.
No comment.
No comment. Do you know, again, he sort of he did okay for that spell, what you mentioned, but ultimately it all petered out like most of them do, doesn't it?
Yeah. Right. So let me put him for no comment then.
No Ed.
Don't ask. Everyone knows who people in comments. Who's next after Joe Kinnear? Oh my god. This is why he got no head.
Oh yeah, was it the oh
right? So people, the next one after
Mr. Megson.
This is my list. This is my list.
Yeah. Put in failure straight away. Failure.
Oh, dude. Right. This is for the younger generation that doesn't know about Gary Megson. Like everyone's had stories about Gary Megson, and
you don't want to know about him. Just put him in failure. And let's move on.
Criminal.
Yeah, but people need to know, Dylan. People need to know what about. Oh, right. Right. So, like I said, younger generation. If you don't know about Gary Megson, I'll tell one of the lads to talk about. Who wants to talk about Gary Megson?
Not me.
Me.
Move on.
Go on. Right. So people, Des will talk about Gary Megson for 30 seconds. I'm going to give Des 30 seconds. Des, go.
Shit. He was
arrogant.
He was arrogant. He came into the club. He'd done well at West Brom. West Brom are boring. West Brom are workmanlike. West Brom are the most boring football club in the world to watch. He come in. He upset everybody who was still half decent. We had been struggling. Kinnear had made an absolute mess of us. And Megson come in on a big contract with big expectations, and it just didn't work. And I've tried to tell this story recently to you, Dor. I've never seen anybody get crucified like Megson did at Barnsley.
Yeah,
where they walked down to that tunnel at the end. I've seen guys like clambering over, chucking wallets, season tickets at him. You know,
Yeovil away.
But there was Yeovil away when he got fans into the dressing room.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah, but they weren't allowed to pick on anyone. Did you know that? Did you know when they went into the changing room, they wasn't allowed to pick on anyone. So basically, they were allowed to say why they didn't like what was happening, but they wasn't allowed to pick on any individual player or the manager.
Okay, so Gary Megson with no head is going in.
Failure.
Get him gone.
Right,
has he ever had a job since?
No,
he did. He went to Bolton. He went to Bolton and he did okay.
Bloody, I can't remember. That's a bad
He is then.
I can't remember. Right, next one. Calderwood. And how long did it take you to get out of the League One? Was it 2
years? 2 years.
2 years. Go on, Lee. Do you remember anything about Calderwood? And people as well. Where would you put Calderwood?
That's what I'll say. Calderwood tried. If I could be wrong, but from memory, weren't we fairly defensive with him? I don't know. Dad will probably know more than me. I can't 100% remember. I remember him being manager. I can't remember everything he did. From
Colin Calderwood, like the second season, he brought a lot of Nottinghamshire players in.
Yeah.
Like Wes Morgan, Kevin Wilson, Julian Bennett, James Perch, Lewis McGugan. And I think he used to bring in like an ex-pro every year? Didn't he bring in Andy Cole one year? Andy Cole.
Yeah, but he used to be known because he brought, if I remember rightly, he brought Neil Lennon in 1 year. Then he brought Andy Cole in.
Yeah, and they didn't work out. None of them worked out at Forest.
Who bought Ian Wright in?
That was Platt, wasn't it?
That was Platt.
God's sake.
That was Platt. So he sent us up. I think we finished second, didn't we? Second or third, one or two.
What, when we went up?
Yeah, we went up.
Yeah, it was second. Yeah, because Yo was
third. No, it was third, wasn't it? I thought it was third.
No, it was second because the top two
playoffs, did we? We've never won.
I think it The top two went up.
Yeah, that's right.
But remember that the games that we lost in the playoffs, we lost to Yeovil. That game was
5-2.
Oh, that was horrible. My mate Aaron Davis.
Yeah, but that's where we got. That's when we got
Cohen.
the year after. We got Davis and we got Cohen, didn't we?
Cohen. So, people in the comments, where would you put Colin Caldwell? Like, I know that some of the younger generation will know. So, where would we put him then? I personally think
Underrated, maybe.
Underrated.
Good.
Good.
He's got a promotion on his CV.
Yeah, it was from League One, wasn't it?
It don't matter though. He had to get us out from where we was, and it's a promotion back to the championship.
Can I just say, when Colin Caldwell walked into Forest and they asked him what Forest needed to do that season, he said, "We have to get promoted." It took him 3 seasons. Forest should have been promoted out of that league in the first season, with the budgets and things like that. He did what he had to do, like Dylan says. Ultimately, he got us to where he got us. But when he got us into the championship, we were dying on a whimper. We were getting battered. And he'd signed a goal scorer from the Premier League, Robert Earnshaw. That wasn't working, and it was really, really poor. And there were some turgid times in League One. And I know Megson sort of put us there, but Calderwood, on his own admission, come in and said he had to get us up. And it was dour. It was terrible. It was beyond abysmal. We played Chelsea one day, and I remember seeing something on TV. And I know they were Premier League and we were League One, but the commentator said it was like Football Focus or something. They went, if that's the way the manager looks, they're going to go out there and get battered. And they did. They got battered. So whilst he did his job, it's hard to put him in any of those categories because he wasn't good for me. He wasn't underrated. Again, he's really worked since he went to Newcastle to work with Chris Hughton, which says a lot.
It was a bit better than Kinnear, though, weren't it? So,
but he wasn't a complete failure. You couldn't really put him.
I'd say underrated. I think it's a wrong terminology, underrated.
Well, let me go through comments. Like Marcus says, Colin, no comment. It took us 2 years to go up, and he failed against Yeovil. Lee says Colin underrated, gives us a dark period, but wasn't really championship level.
Yeah.
Andrew says Colin was underrated. He did the job at the end. Style of football wasn't not bad. Indeed, Chapo. Colin was member for Yeovil playoffs at City Ground, crossing my fingertips.
There was a banner after that game because everybody was always on his case. There was a banner in the Trent end that said he does know what he's talking about because everybody always said he didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah. So where should we put it then?
Underrated, I think.
Underrated. Does everyone agree?
Because he got a promotion, didn't he? Like Dylan said.
Right. So underrated.
That's that's why I would have put him in good because he got a promotion. That was it.
No comment for me, but I'm outvoted.
Right. This next one, people. This is going to cause a stir because Billy Davis is next. And we're going to talk about the 2 teams that got in the playoffs as well and his second spell with Forest.
Yeah, but you can't compare his second spell.
No, we're going to go through. We're going to put them together. We can't just.
Yeah, but you can't. If you think about it, you got 2 Billy Davises. It was two different men. It was the same name and same person, but it was 2 different attitudes.
Are you saying Billy Davis is bipolar?
I'm not saying a word, Des. That's not for me to comment.
Right, so people in the comments. I know the younger fans will know Billy Davis, but where would you put Billy Davis? Like his first spell, you can't.
I would put him in good.
He was fantastic for us.
The football we played was awesome. The way he got us playing, it was fantastic football to watch.
His first spell, if you go off his first spell, it's between good and elite because after looking at from Frank Clark up until him, he was the next best thing. The style of football we played, we lost in playoffs and stuff like that, but you knew every year there'll be some new players coming in. It was just good football. For me, that's his first spell.
I'd say good because you can't put him in elite because he didn't, like Cloughie, won European Cups and League Cups.
But Cloughie shouldn't even be in elite. He should be on God status. Yeah, he should be.
On
He
there,
should be on his
I think
own.
we have to do good as sort of the next tier when you've done all right. You know what I mean?
As well, people put in comments. Where would you put Billy Davis?
I'd put him in good, personally.
Right, what you Des? Like, you?
Well, again, I've done this list. I'd have had him behind Frank Clark, Dave Bassett, and Paul Hart in fourth on the first spell, and on the second spell he would have been 17th out of 22.
Yeah.
Because I just said there, I was talking about Calderwood and says I want a massive fan, and he left us in a real mess. You know, we was really sort of marooned in the relegation battle, and Billy Davis said it himself when he came in. Even though he'd taken Derby up, keeping Forest up was one of his biggest achievements. You know, when he went out and got Blackstock, the fullback, what's his name, Gunter.
Yeah.
Those players were really, really key to keeping us up, and went on to have good careers at Forest. You know, players we relied on for a few years, and he got them on loan initially, so they were brilliant at that, and he were brilliant at Championship football.
Yeah,
you know, what he wasn't brilliant at was the finances of it, was he, and the things like that. You know, and he got a bit above his station. You know, and. Nigel Doughty wouldn't stand for it. I heard just the other day if they got promoted, he were going to get the sack.
Yeah,
after that Swansea game. So there was obviously a lot going on there, and then Fawaz got washed up in all the rubbish. But what we forget is when he came back, you know, he nearly turned us into promotion playoff contenders again, didn't he? We went on such a run.
Yeah.
And nearly got there and petered out that season. Then we started off rubbish, but he's right up there, not in elite, you know, top end of good in terms of the managers we've had, because that first spell for 2 years was brilliant. You know, beating Derby 5-2, beating Leicester, you know, 5-1, I think.
Yeah, 5-1. Robert Earnshaw hat trick.
And again, I remember when he came in, everyone said, "Oh, he's going to get rid of Earnshaw. He's going to do this. He's not going to play these players." He picked up some real bargains and sort of got the best out of some players as well. Dele Adibola, you know, he was like a super sub at the time, you know, and he was a good foil for Earnshaw and people like that. So yeah, he's got all the nous he needed for the Championship, but unfortunately, he's got too much going on elsewhere, hasn't he?
So, Billy Davis is good,
good.
Right. So Billy Davis.
If Billy Davis was saying it, he'd say no comment.
No comment. Right.
Is that the first spell or the second spell?
It says high margins.
Was it first spell? It's mine. Next one is Steve McLaren.
Failure.
McLaren.
That definitely
failure. It's got to be.
How long was he here for?
Wally with a brain.
10 games.
10 games.
How many?
10.
10 games. I think the game that done me was.
He left on the 1st of October.
Second, I've got here.
Second, was it?
Yeah, 13th of June 2011 till the 2nd of October 2011.
There you go.
So, do you all agree? You go in.
Failure. It's got to be on it.
Fantastic job at Derby and all, didn't it? So.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I'd say about him, again, he had his hands tied a little bit, didn't he? Apparently, he tried to find Wayne Routledge out of his own money. Yeah. You know, because the club was stripping assets by that point. Doughty was looking to he'd stepped down as chairman, hadn't he? They were selling players. Ultimately, it led on to the later managers where Morgan left and Bamford. But apparently, he wanted to sign Wayne Routledge because we were that bad.
Yeah.
Though, Des, because he done all right getting Middlesbrough in Europe, didn't he? They did all right in Europe, and then he gets England job and that, doesn't it? So
I think
maybe he just wasn't a good fit for us. You know?
I think after Billy Davis and the fact it was Billy Davis's first spell, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And after that, we all wanted something special, and ex-Derby, you know, whatever, you know, not having the money. I think he got sold the dream, which never materialised. But he ultimately he was an absolute failure.
Was that?
Didn't he leave?
Are you
He
serious
just
about
walked away, didn't he?
the thing that
Yeah,
we
he
got told?
he walked away.
He just walked away with no. He told him not to pay his compensation, didn't he? When he left,
yeah.
I heard, he just said that was it because he knew Darty was going under. Yeah,
Right.
Apparently he was an admirable guy. He just weren't the Forest manager we wanted.
No.
No. Right. So next one is Steve Cottrell. And that was season from 2011 2012. I felt sorry for him. I'm not gonna lie. I felt sorry for him because when, if remembers that game, we beat Leeds 7-3 at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Fantastic.
That was fantastic. And I personally felt sorry for him. People in the comments, where would you put Steve Cottrell?
that was against Warnock, if I remember.
It was.
Was that against Warnock? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I liked him, if I'm honest, and I really felt sorry for him. But what do you guys think? Where would you put him in? What sort of you, Lee? Where would you put him?
He was steady, weren't he? He wasn't overly good, not overly bad. I think he was sort of in between. He had some good games, didn't he? Like you say, the Leeds game, and then
he kept us up. He kept us up as well.
Yeah, it weren't overly memorable, was it? Other than the Leeds game, I don't think. I'd sort of go in between underrated and no comment. Maybe I'm harsh, I don't know.
What about you, Des?
No, I tend to agree on Lee's summary. I wasn't a Cottrell fan, you know. I know we went 7 games without scoring a goal. You know, we didn't have a shot at times. And then what he did do, obviously, he was only there to turn that around. He went and signed Adlen Guediora. And I've heard you guys talk about loan signings recently and best loan signings. That guy was the best loan signing Forest ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Guediora, you know, probably a couple of opportunist strikes, but they changed games quickly, you know, and all of a sudden from not being able to score, we had this guy bossing the midfield, chipping in with goals, you know.
Did he give a penalty away against Leeds and he went and banged them screamers in?
Yeah, I think he got 2 again.
He gave that penalty away, did he? And everyone was like, oh, for God's sake, he smashed that long ranger in.
Yeah.
But it was that, and then the sort of coming together there that when Fawaz come in and got rid of him, you know, that was harsh. You know, again, like a lot of these managers, they either start good and finish rubbish. He seemed to start rubbish and just pick it up a little bit. You know, a bit like Platt, I guess. You know, and then we never really got to see the potential. So I'd go between underrated and no comment. Yeah. You know, he wasn't the worst, and I said I didn't like him, but he's actually 11th on my list out of 22.
Was there? Was there?
So he worked his way up that.
Oh, days. So okay, so I felt sorry for him. I really did. So
I'd go
I don't know.
Underrated.
Underrated.
No argument from me. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not fans of him as well.
Right, next one, and another manager I really felt sorry for, Sean O'Driscoll. This when Fawaz brought his first manager since he took over the club. I don't know. Again, I feel sorry for him. But
yeah, he was very unlucky, weren't he? He got us one place outside the playoffs, didn't he? And we beat Leeds.
Yeah, Boxing Day.
Boxing
Day, we beat Leeds and with 1 point out the playoffs.
Yeah. So
and he got sacked.
As well, people in the comments.
I think he was very unlucky.
Yeah, so people.
It steadied the ship, hadn't they? He'd done really well with Forest, and yeah.
Okay, then we'll stop. Dylan, in your opinion, where would you put?
I'd put him good. Good.
From his time at Forest.
Yeah, it's good because you know what I mean. To want his fault why he got sacked and what was it? 1 point, 1 point off 6th. And just on Boxing Day, just beat Leeds. Do you know what I mean? You can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Des?
I'd say he was underrated. He was doing
me too.
He was doing a good job. He was doing a fair job. I wouldn't say he was doing an amazing job. Do you know, I remember, yes, the Leeds game was exciting, and when he got sacked, you think, it was kind of the first time a manager got sacked after a win. It happens a lot now, but it was kind of the first time it happened. But to be honest, and if I'm completely honest, when at the time I didn't think the football was fantastic.
Mm.
I didn't think it was brilliant. You know, we were getting results. We were doing well. We'd started to slip, and I think Fawaz, not knowing the league at all, just thought time to go, because I think we were a bit higher, weren't we? And we just started to slip away a little bit, and that's what they sort of pulled the trigger a bit too soon. But he did a fair job. He was underrated. The telling thing with O'Driscoll for me is what have he been doing since? Do you know,
he wasn't in there that long though, was he? If I remember rightly.
He got a big reputation at Forest because he was 7th. But what did he do away from Forest after?
No.
You know, he didn't pull up any trees. I think he ended up going back to Doncaster or somewhere like that.
He was in League One, wasn't he?
He was in League One, Doncaster, yeah.
And he didn't sort of pull up any trees. So I think we, a bit like sort of looking back at Platt and people and Cottrell, you think, oh, it was starting to turn around. But I don't think ultimately he would have seen it through. But he was unlucky, wasn't he? If anything, he was unlucky to be under a crazy owner.
Well, if you remember as well, he was on the coaching staff with Cottrell.
Cottrell, yeah.
Because I remember sitting in the main stand at the time.
Was
Cottrell
he like assistant
was there.
manager or something?
No, he was just there to advise him at the time.
Yeah.
He was there for an advisory role, but he, do you know what I mean? But then, if I remember rightly, when they sacked Cottrell, supposedly it was the players that turned around to Fawaz and said they wanted him back.
Mm.
So it was player power that I heard that got O'Driscoll back as manager.
Okay, right. So we're putting him. We're gonna.
Shall we say underrated? Because I think he probably could have done well with Forest if we hadn't sacked him.
Okay, so I'll put him underrated.
Yeah, underrated. Yeah.
Okay, so underrated.
Can I just ask, is there a picture of you there when you scroll down the managers, you and your daughter? That's what it looked like.
There's 2 pictures. Yeah, there's 2 pictures of me and my daughter.
Have we got a comment on you?
Yeah. Next one is Alex McLeish. How long was there for? 31 days.
No comment.
What? Yes, you put him as no comment.
No,
he weren't great, was it? It was dire.
There's nothing to say about his time there.
There was nothing positive. Was there? He weren't there long. Was it 43 days or something stupid?
Yeah, I'll give you the date. 20th of July 2012 to the 27th of December 2012.
Yeah.
That's how long he was there.
Dire.
Have you got the right one there, Dylan? Because he came after Christmas, didn't he? Have you got the right one?
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Hold on. Yep, sorry. 27th of December 2012. I'm looking at O'Driscoll. So the 5th of February 2013.
Yeah, I know it weren't a lot of days. There's no positive, is there?
Did you see the interview with O'Driscoll? I forgot who it was with. And he said that 3 matches before O'Driscoll got sacked, Alex McLeish turned up after the game in his office, turned up in the bar after with his family, talking to his family, and he says, now looking back on it, he was like, hold on a minute, he was put in place 3 to 4 games before I was sacked.
Yeah, I can believe it.
That's what he said.
Unbelievable.
Get rid of him then.
Right, so we're putting in. No comment.
Failure.
No comment. Well, yeah.
Des, what Des? Des gets the last one.
No comment. Nothing happened.
If nothing happened. Okay, right.
The only thing he did was bring Jennis back, wasn't it? Did he bring him back? He did, didn't he? Or was that O'Driscoll?
The only thing he did was to go down in Forest folklore is tried to sign George Boyd before came back.
Yeah. Oh, that was mad.
The eyesight thing. Yeah.
What, that one?
Fawaz failed him, didn't it? Was it Fawaz who failed him?
Yeah. Right. So next one, that's a Forest legend as a player. Stuart Pearce. People in the comments, what do you think about Stuart Pearce?
Are we ranking him as a player or as a manager? Which one? We've got to separate.
Manager, not player, a manager. So people in the comments, where would you put Stuart Pearce? Me personally, he started fantastically for us.
He did.
But players got injured, like Chris Cohen, Andy Reid, Jack Hobbs, Matt Fryatt,
Yeah, we was well unlucky with injuries, weren't we?
And he's well, and plus, well, I know we kept him, but when he got told about, was it Carl Darlow and Lascelles? So
I remember that.
Yeah,
he got
as well.
He come on the radio that night and ranted like out, didn't he? Going mad about Fawaz, saying he sold.
Wonder him, didn't it?
Yeah,
and then had to come back on 3 days later and apologise because he sold it because they signed Antonio and Britt Sombalonga from the money.
But in my opinion, the best day, one of the best away days I've ever had.
Derby.
We beat Derby away 2-1. The best away day ever.
Was that when Osborne
scored?
Benny Osborne scored, and
he was like that.
Yeah, and that was one of the best away days I've been. Scoring in the 93rd minute. But,
because he was due to get the sack then, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he said if he walked away with a draw or a loss, he was getting the sack.
I think we come from 1-0 behind, didn't we? We was 1-0 down, and then we come back and won it.
Yeah. So people, I'll start with you, Des. Where would you put Pierce? Like, so people comments, where would you put Pierce as well? Des, where'd you put him, Des?
I don't know. Again, referring to this list I've made, I've got him under Calderwood. That's how I'm putting it out, and I don't want to. He started well, didn't he? He had us all excited. He got going again, and he was unlucky with injuries. Some of those big players. I think the biggest injury in that one was Andy Reid.
Reid, yeah.
Because Andy Reid linked up so well with Britt Sombalonga.
Yeah.
Andy Reid was the guy who could find a Sombalonga's space. And then when Reid got injured, the baton kind of passed on to Antonio to do it all on his own. Antonio was unplayable at that point. But I remember listening to something, and I know Danny Mills doesn't get on with Pierce because of something that happened at Man City, and I don't like Danny Mills. But Danny Mills said on some sort of TV radio, he said the problem is with Pierce, he goes into the club, everyone believes in him, he kind of rattles a few cages, does the inspirational stuff, and then it all peters out. Yeah. And I really didn't want that to happen at Forest. And the Derby game is a classic example. When he just didn't give a shit and he turned into psycho, that's what we wanted him to be, whether it worked or not. We wanted the guy, the crazy guy who used to come up to the Trent end. And he turned into he tried to be a bit of a philosopher, didn't he? In his first spell was caretaker. He put 3-5-2 with Nicola Jurkan at the back.
Yeah.
And he tried to get a bit too clever with what he was about for me. If he was about psycho and the guy who could, good players there, we all know those good players who were there at the time. I think he got a little bit more out of them. And that's where I hate to think that he was a bit of a failure, because ultimately he was. But I'd say if underrated could have had more time, I'd have liked to have seen him see the season and see if he could bring it round. But again, we did that typical Forest thing, didn't we? And capitulated over 10 games.
Yeah.
And once a manager's not winning 10, 11, 12 games, it's over, isn't it? Because he beat Derby and then we went and got stuff the weekend after Fulham, I think.
I think we lost to Fulham.
And Millwall.
Them.
One thing I will say about all of this, these last few managers over that period, I remember at the time, it wasn't uncommon, for them to work their notice period. It sounds bizarre in football, but you talk about O'Driscoll and the fact McLeish was in there 3 weeks. Calderwood, there was massive rumours he'd been sacked a month before he actually went on Boxing Day. So it was all a bit weird, and Pierce seemed the same. We all knew he would get the sack if we didn't beat Derby, and then he lasted another couple of games.
Yeah, but he had thingy as well. They had high hopes for. They had that Velvite, didn't they? The 6'5".
Yeah, the old Velvite.
He was just a complete flop, wasn't it? He was just
flopping out.
And they had high hopes for him, didn't they? That he was going to work, and they pinned a lot on him.
Right, so we're putting him. We put him
underrated.
Yeah, everyone in the comments.
I think he's a bit better than no comment, isn't he? He's better than Ron Atkinson. Come on.
Yeah, but are you? But this is the thing, right? Are you putting him in that kind of category because he's Stuart Pearce? You got to take away. You got to take away.
He was unlucky.
Yeah, but
he started well. We were flying. We was top of the league, weren't we?
But overall, looking at what he did from start to finish, Do you know what I mean? Take away his name, take away what he did for the club and that, because he's always a legend in my eyes. But just look at what he did over that period.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
It can't be worse than Platt.
Right. Before we put him in, this is my opinion for Pierce. Right, I didn't want him back because we all know that Fowers only brought him back to keep the fans happy.
Yeah,
and that's my opinion. So people in the comments, I don't know if you agree or disagree with me. Like,
remember that first game though, Ben, when he walked out. The crowd was unbelievable.
That's what Fowers wanted. Because Fowers was under pressure and get the fans happy, and that's what it is. So.
Fowers quickly undermined him with what Dylan said about Lascelles and Darlow, and that's where Pearce lost it for me. Because Pearce, if he'd have stood up to him, we'd have seen the back of Fowers a lot sooner. You know, he wouldn't have won that battle. I don't care who he thought he was. Where I'd say he falls in there is if Underrated said bang average, you know, being genuine to this conversation, I think that's where Pearce falls in. I'd love to say a lot more about
average then, because I kind of agree. Like, I think underrated is the wrong word for the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, I put him underrated because we're talking about Pearce a lot now. So underrated, yeah. Right. Next one, Dougie Freedman, and again another manager I felt sorry for.
Underrated, he was definitely underrated
because he had to be under embargo. He couldn't get the right players in.
You think what he had to work with?
He did quite well with what he had. He was quite defensive, if I remember, but he did well with what he had, didn't he? He didn't do a bad job, to be fair to him.
So people in the comments, where would you put Dougie Freedman? I'm like, I'll say underrated. But what's everyone's opinion on it? Do you, Des or Lee? Like, I don't know.
I'll go with what these guys say. I think
I say underrated for me.
I think he was underrated. He had the probably toughest time of all those managers, didn't he, in terms of embargo? You know, he was picking up Fowers' mess, not Pearce's mess.
Yeah.
You know, so he had a really tough time. In some of those signings he made, you know, Nelson Oliveira did a job for us.
Definitely. So okay, Dougie Freedman will go for underrated.
You're going to run out of room there.
No, we fine. Next one, the French dude, Philippe Montagnier.
He was an expert on cheese. That's all I'm saying.
His cheese and his wine, didn't it?
He knew his cheese.
Oh, days.
He was cheesy.
I know, manager. Like I seen him that Joe Worrell interview, and he said he was a really nice guy. And
it was just his assistant that was a dickhead.
He was probably too nice for this league, wasn't it?
Yeah, way too nice. I think the game that I remember, he beat Barnsley 5-2. I think that was a game that we can talk was most talk about. But
I remember his first game against
Burton.
Burton. Was it 3-3?
4-3.
Oh, was it 4-3?
3. So where would everyone put Montagnier? Where would you put him? I don't know. I put no comment.
I'm kind of no comment.
I'm no comment for that one.
He's kind of no comment, but I'm going to make some comments. You know what he should have done? Like, we was a gung-ho side. We were like the Newcastle team in 92. We were like 4-3, 4-3. And then all of a sudden, until that Barnsley game you mentioned in Ipswich, he tried to defend. And we just didn't have the players to defend. We was a team that could score goals, you know, with the players we had on the pitch. But I remember speaking on at the time on a phone in. I just basically said, I just want us to keep going and attacking teams. But after winning the first 2 4-3, I think we beat Wigan 4-3 as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
He changed the style, and then I was like, and then everything was just baffling, and he completely lost the dressing room, didn't he? I think Eric Lehigh was picking the team at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Is that where Lehigh made himself captain on the pitch? He just
made himself captain, penalty.
Yeah, he just took over the game, didn't he? And just made himself captain on the pitch and just led the team. I remember that.
So he lost the dressing room. So that was a failure. No comment. You know, it could be either of those.
No comment. I think failure would be slightly harsh.
Yeah. I'll personally put it for no comment. But people as well, put in the comments. What do you think? Next one.
Mark Warburton.
Mark
Five
Warburton.
margins with him.
Mark Warburton, people, probably comments. Where do you put Mark Warburton?
Small margins. Small
Five
margins.
margins. That was his
Five
every week,
margins.
5 margins.
5 margins.
Yeah, he's done good with QPR.
I don't know. He kept us up. Remember?
Mate, technically, Thingy kept us up.
Jordan Smith.
What's it? Jordan Smith kept us up. And then Cohen scoring that screamer. But
my biggest problem with Warburton is the way he tracked Jordan Smith. Because he was hanging Jordan Smith out to dry. I thought Warburton was arrogant. You know, he'd come from Rangers. You know, I liked the pick when they got him as manager. I thought, oh, we've got a good championship manager here. Someone who's going to get us playing good football. But he's really arrogant in his decision making. And the stubbornness with Smith. You know, Smith was doing well when he came in. And because he wanted him to pass, it just drained Smith's confidence completely out of him. And every single week, Warburton was saying, we need to sign a new goalkeeper. We need to sign a new goalkeeper. If you've got a number one, you don't say those things. You know, you just don't say those things. And he was a bit unlucky with signings, apparently. He wanted John McGinn. He wanted Ross McCormack.
I was doing them all through his family's company, weren't they? Through his ties. They got like an agency or something, and that's how he was making money.
Yeah, brought that director of football in with him, didn't he?
Yeah, you know his daughter? His daughter was an agent. And she was bringing Scottish players to Forest. Like, his players that we mentioned, like, it was Mackay, Cummins. I think there's someone else as well that we got from the Scottish League. So
got Cummins, didn't we?
You got Cummins, yeah. He was awful.
Cum dog.
Yeah, I think he was a prat. If I'm honest, yeah. And this is a comment as well. Warburton's daughter was part of the recruitment team as well, she's doing the same at QPR.
Do you know Warburton?
What they did?
Warburton signed Joe Lolly though, didn't he as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. So where we put him then? Where we put Mark Warburton?
No comment for me.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment.
It's a fine margin, isn't it?
Fine margin. Next one is Untitled Chapter. Another manager that started fantastic. And he went downhill.
I respected him from when he took over that Tuesday night game against Preston. And we got absolutely nailed. And then the transfer window closed on the Wednesday. And he come out in his interview and he said they were awful of this. And on the Wednesday, I think he signed basically brilliant brand new team straight away with the likes of Tomlin, players like that. Who else did he sign? But
he brought in Ben Watson.
Yeah, Ben Watson.
Colback. He brought Colback, Dylan.
Colback, yes, Colback. Yes, he did.
Carvalho's best spell under him, under Karanka.
Is Carvalho still here?
He didn't sign Carvalho, did he?
No, he didn't. But Karanka.
I liked him.
He's a nice guy.
No, you know what? I liked him, but that I don't want to repeat it in the vlog. That Norwich away game, that cheesed me off.
3-3.
Why? Oh yeah, we're
Injury time though, weren't there?
No. You know what? It was a substitution that he made. It was 3-2 up. He took off. Who did he bring off? He brought off Ben Osborne, and he put
Diaz on.
And he put Diaz on.
Yeah.
Why would you do that when we're 3-2 up? Bring the left back on. That done me. I think it was Millwall away. That done me as well. But he was good manager, man.
He was a bit like O'Driscoll, wasn't he? Do you know, the football was starting to fail. But what people tend to remember is the fact where we were in the table. What I believe, and I don't know this for sure, is he was told he had to be in the playoffs on New Year's Day.
Yeah. And
he wasn't because he was 7th. They slipped out because of that Norwich game, I believe. Or Christmas or whenever it was, he got sacked. And he wasn't in a playoff position, so he got the sack. And what we tend to remember is because he'd done okay at the start, he got us up there, again, we was at top 2 at one point earlier in the season.
Yeah, it was.
And
He
we
wasn't
were on the
treated
slide.
very well, though, was he?
But the thing,
He wasn't treated very well.
no. But the thing
No, he
is,
wasn't.
You could see it in his face, though, couldn't you? Like, there was a few games before he went, you could tell how upset he genuinely was.
We played Ipswich. We played Ipswich and we won 2-0.
That was it.
And he was the most miserable guy in the City ground, you know, and it apparently boils down to an argument with the chief executive.
Yanis.
Didn't I heard that he left? He left the club the day after he got his bonus, because you get a year bonus. So he left a year and 1 day after he signed for the club, and I heard the reason he hung on that long was to get his bonus so he could go.
Didn't he lose a family member and Fawaz was making it difficult for him or something?
He went under Fawaz.
He was
He was under Marinakis.
Was it? Marinakis, was it? Yeah, sorry, yeah.
But everyone...
He didn't get on with someone, did he?
No, he didn't get
Yanis.
Yanis, was it? That's it. That's what I was thinking. Not Fawaz, sorry.
Yeah, he didn't.
Well, everybody put him on the same, because what he did at Middlesbrough, everyone expected him to do again at Forest.
People in the comments, where was put? I don't care. Me
I think
personally,
he went slightly too early, though. I do.
I personally put him underrated, or yeah. So I don't know. Where's everyone thinking?
I'm gonna put him good because he brought us Cole back.
I think underrated.
Hey, come on, you put on it. Shut up. You know what?
It was a joke. It was a joke.
No, Dylan, it wasn't a joke. Dylan. You know what?
Oh yeah, but don't forget he brought Lewis Graben as well.
Yeah, as well. He did. He did. Because I think it was out of Graben.
Someone's just put it down.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Pantilimon.
Yeah, it was under. Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah,
Graben, Lolle.
So we're putting him. We're putting the man himself. We're putting him.
Put him underrated. I think he was slightly unlucky, weren't he? I liked him, to be fair.
I think if you've got Billy Davis in there as a second spell, I'll put him in good. He was a good manager.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I'll put him in good for the signings as well he made.
Well,
because
the signings that are still there, that's important, isn't it? The signings that
and you've got to respect. And you've got to respect what he did after that Preston game. Not many managers would have done what he did. Played awful on the Tuesday night, and on a Wednesday, basically just went out and told the team, "You're rubbish. I'm just replacing everyone."
Yeah. Wow. Right. So next one, Martin O'Neill. I don't know. This is a bit. It's a Forest legend.
I respect the man, but I thought he was dreadful.
Take that out of the equation.
He had a better ratio than some of the others we've had since. So
he has, and that's why I had a point, Lee. He had a better ratio than other managers.
But the football was dire, weren't it?
It wasn't dire, look, Lee. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, Lee. It wasn't.
It was. Man.
No, it
was miserable. It was miserable.
Right. That's what Dylan. What's your opinions on it? Like, I personally think it wasn't rubbish.
I personally didn't think it was awful. I didn't think it was the best. But he did a job. They brought him in. Me personally think he was a bit too behind his time. Do you know what I mean? Brought Keane in with him, hoping to freshen it up, and obviously it didn't go right. And then obviously they just got rid of him.
I don't know. I don't think he was awful. People are just harsh on him. But
I would say over his spell, Dore, just going to your sort of categories, over the spell, you kind of say no comment, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as people make out. You know, there was a young brigade saying they didn't see some of that shite we spoke about already. You know, the games where it got us all excited, you know, the Middlesbrough game, the Derby game.
Yeah.
And I've seen someone comment there about his signings. I don't think some of those signings were bad players. Alex Milosevich. What happened to Alex Milosevich?
Yeah.
He looked like a rock in defence.
I liked him. He was good, he was.
Like, if you look at it, right, because I don't know if people remember, that season that he had, he beat Derby, he got robbed, as I think it was 3 or 4 games in a row. I think it was West Brom, I think we drawn 2-2.
Was that when they whacked it on the line?
Yes. There was another game.
The
West
Gale,
Brom. There's West Brom as well. We should have got 3 points there. Preston, we should have got 3 points there by the referee. So there was games under Martin O'Neill that we should have won the game. And if we did,
sorry, if you remember, I can always remember the day before he got sacked because I remember seeing on social media all because he brought Sammy Amiobi in, didn't he? And they were all running up Woollerton Park that day, and I always remember it. And if I remember around that time, I don't think there was one Forest fan calling for him to go. So when he did go, and he was replaced within 20 minutes, I think we were all shocked.
I think I was that one Forest fan, Dylan. I think I was ready at that point.
But the only problem is, I think the thing that shook everyone was, I think a week before he left, Roy Keane had stepped away from the club.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So I think people were starting to go, what's going off? But no one, if I remember rightly, I can't remember any Forest fans saying, come on, we've got to get a change. We need to make a change. Because
I think it's how quick it happened as well that shocked people, didn't it? Because it was minutes. Like, then Lamucci was in, wasn't it?
He didn't get the sack because he ran players at Woollerton Hall.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, I know, but the rumour is that's why people say the players lost the dressing room, he lost the players. That's rubbish.
I hear that the players, I hear some players still now on the day off go and run around Woollerton Park.
Exactly. But he's not running. You know, I don't think. I think he fell out with somebody. He had a lot. Obviously, Martin O'Neill had a lot to say for himself when he got club status, like club legend status. And I think that didn't go down well with the ownership.
I think it was to do with Keane.
Very set in his ways, O'Neill.
I think it was a lot to do with Roy Keane, because if you remember, he got the job and everyone, as soon as he got the job, they were like, is Roy Keane coming? Is Roy Keane coming? As soon as he come, everyone was happy. Then when Roy Keane left, it kind of turned sour. So were they trying to keep Martin O'Neill in the job to then potentially, because I heard potentially, they were eventually, when Martin O'Neill finished and stepped down, they were going to give it to Roy Keane.
There's coming here, like, if people remember, I don't know if you remember that the game we played against is it Ipswich away, we drew 1-1, and Guardiola refused to come on for that game, and that pissed off Martin O'Neill big time. But yeah, so where would you put him then? Where would you put him?
No comment.
No comment?
Yeah.
Is that everyone? Okay. Next one, Jador, Sabri Lamucci.
What was that? Jador.
What's
that all about?
That's what it was, Dylan. Oh, where you been, Dylan?
I don't know.
People in the comments, get out, Dylan.
I've got the anaesthetics wearing off now.
No, people get out, Dylan. How do you know what Jador is? That was him.
Dylan forgot all about him because Jack Colback went back.
Yeah, I walked away from Forest then.
Yeah, right. Lamucci, I don't know.
Lamucci, you've got to put. Me personally, I would put him in good, because look at all them managers, look at all them seasons that we've nearly got there and we did crap. I believe if it wasn't for the pandemic, I sound like a Derby fan now, but if it wasn't for the pandemic, we could have got promoted. I believe after that Leeds game, anything was possible. Then obviously COVID hit. So me personally, I would put him in good, because you have to kind of factor them last few games into it.
Yeah, he kind of lost his way and lost the plot a little bit, didn't it? Like, but
I think the whole world everyone lost the plot.
Everyone lost the plot.
But he did make some strange changes at times, didn't he? Where he'd change, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 players when there was no need, and it cost us points, didn't it? Cost us wins. He just randomly changed the side.
I've said it elsewhere. What Lamucci did, he underestimated the championship.
That's right.
Whilst he come in and did a brilliant job in getting his wins and picking up things, he thought it was like the French league or the Spanish league where you could top always beats bottom. You know, and in the championship that doesn't happen. He did it at Wigan away, and he did it after the Leeds game against Charlton. So he didn't. I think another year, And if those signings was his and we wasn't in that crazy slump, which started when Joe Worrell fouled that guy at Derby. Something happened that day. Something happened that changed everything. And without that slump there, I think if COVID had not kicked in and that foul had not happened, I think he'd have got the points to get into the playoffs. I'm not sure we'd have gone up, but I think with another season of him getting in the playoffs, perhaps an heroic loss in the final or the semis, and then him signing championship players, because it looked like he tried to replace the likes of Rafa Mir and people like that with actually proven players.
That January window was awful, weren't it? That cost us big time, that did.
But he didn't sign them, did he? He didn't sign them. So with his signings and it had not been so bad over that spell, I think he'd have got us to the playoffs again the following season. But we capitulated and then we started the season.
Really bad.
I know in the January he wanted to sign
Dwight
Freeman. No, he wanted
Freeman.
Yeah, but
Taylor,
he wanted to
Taylor Freeman.
Yeah, but he wanted to start. I know he wanted to. He inquired about Dwight Gale for the last half of the season, and he was told by I think Yanis, no way. And then later on, after everything happened, when he had to fly out to Athens to meet Marinakis and explain what went wrong. And the story goes, he turned around and said, and pointed to Yanis, I wanted Dwight Gale. He's a proven goal scorer. And Marinakis turned around and went, why didn't you get him? That's what But like you say, have you seen the interview with Taylor? The reason Taylor come to the club because he told him he'd play with Lewis Grabban.
He played with Lewis Grabban.
Yeah, as a 2 and stuff like that.
So where put him? I put him as good. People in the comments, where would you put Lamucci?
I put him as good.
As well.
You can only really do him up to COVID. Technically, because I think the whole football world just went mad after COVID.
Okay, so we're putting him. I'll put him as good. Lee.
Yeah.
Right, last but not least, oh God, Chris Hughton.
Failure for me.
Failure. He kept us up and changed nothing, didn't it? After that, he just changed nothing. It was just dreadful.
Like, I did an interview the other day with someone, and I felt sorry for him because he'd come in to the ground. There was no fans. He couldn't interact with Forest fans and blah blah blah. And with Forest fans watching it from TV, we know, as everyone we knew it was the football wasn't great, and it was just shocking.
He didn't treat the players that well either, though, Ben, did it? Like, Colback weren't even getting a look in, was he? He was told to go.
Don't mention Colback. Please.
Am I wrong?
Don't mention Colback.
Bad decision. I bet now he's sat at home watching Colback going, I wish I'd have picked him. I wish I'd have give him that freedom now.
And he's going, I wish I had to listen to Ben Dore.
As well,
I think just to offer some perspective on Chris Hughton, again, I'll refer to my list. He's not in the bottom 5 managers. McLaren, Atkinson, Kinnear, McLeish, Megson were worse. He did a bit of a job last year doing what he had to do, didn't he? He stabilised it, but he was never going to take it on. He was never going to take it forward. We replaced Lamucci's tactics with a guy a defensive manager who couldn't counter-attack. We couldn't get any worse at the time he come in. We picked up some results, but we was going through long periods of not winning. And he didn't have a plan B, did he? That was the problem. All these managers looking at this list, they didn't have a plan B. Yeah. And so he's not the worst. People right now might think, oh, he's the worst Forest manager ever. Absolutely not. But it was going nowhere for him, was it? It was going nowhere. The club became an horrible place to be, and there's only one person who's going to carry the can.
It was just stagnant, wasn't it?
But you look at it this way, he did a job last season, what he was meant to do to keep us up. Did that job, that's what he was there. But then what the time he had for this season, we sat bottom of the league with 1 point. That is regardless, do you know what I mean? That is it was unacceptable. And then the stories you're hearing and what's happened with the players and stuff like that. People not getting look. We had a £4 million player that we signed the year before. What being put out into the cold and sent to League One. Do you know what I mean? So me personally, I put him in a failure because he did the job the first season. That's what he was supposed to do. Yeah, tick. He saved us. Second, this year, nothing.
This year was horrible.
It was for an elite, supposedly a high-profile coach and manager. He knew he didn't do what he didn't do.
Someone who's been there, done it, knows the Championship. He showed no attacking intent whatsoever. He'd have happily taken a 1-0 defeat every game. Honestly,
well, how many games have we played under Cooper and ended up being 1-0 down? And we've all turned around and we've all texted each other and said, if this was under Houghton, we'd have lost this.
Yeah, 100%. So, has everyone agreed put this failure?
Personally, that's me.
Des?
Yeah, I'd put them in failure, even below some of the managers I made no comment on who I said were worse. But over the time he had, the reason they got no comment was because they didn't get as long. But over the time he had, he was an absolute failure.
Yeah. Right, so that's the last one. That's done.
We're not commenting on you now.
I'm elite. I'm
Ben, number one YouTuber.
I'm number one YouTuber. But yeah, so yeah, that's people. That's the list. But
what about Cooper?
No, I'm not going to mention Cooper because he's not. No, I'm not going to mention Cooper.
He's on his jollies. He's on his jollies in Greece.
He's died. Right. So people in the comments, do you agree or disagree with the tip?
Look at Des's list.
Des, who you got number one?
You got it in the right order, Des.
I thought Philip Montanier's not on there.
Oh, days.
Who you got number one? Is it Frank Clark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you not start from Brian Clough?
No,
you start after.
He's just out there. I'll put this on Twitter.
The people in the comments, do you agree with this tier list? Like, we do like a little 2-minute, 3-minute spell. Like, Des, Lee, and Dylan, would you change any of these?
Yes, one.
So I'll start with you, Dylan. Who would you change?
I would change one and put Mr. Brian Clough as God. Not as elite, as God. Because I was having this conversation with someone the other day. We was having a conversation at work about who was the best manager of all time. And a lot of people said Alex Ferguson. And I was like, not a chance. Mr. Brian Clough, overall, over the last 50, 60 years, has got to be the best football manager ever to walk this earth.
Do you know what?
That as a failure myself, but difference of opinion. That
Go on, Des.
I totally agree with Dylan because I always say Ferguson was the most successful manager, but
he had the money. He had money.
Brian Clough was the best manager.
Yeah.
You could give Brian Clough 20 quid and tell him to go on a Sunday morning to pick a player out, and he could turn him into a superstar within a year.
Okay.
Yeah, with Taylor behind him. Yeah.
I'll leave him elite though. Well, I know he's
I know you can't make
the category's not there, is it?
If I did. What about you, Lee? Last but not least, Lee, what would you change anything of that?
Just Platt as a failure. I can't stand the guy. As a player, rated him, loved him. As a manager, no, not for me.
As well, people in the comments, who would you put? Would you change that? There's one. I'll put Billy second lower. I will only say after winning 3 of the games at Derby, we finally recovered from the 5-0. Who's that? Clough is still standing in town now. Yeah. As we're coming down, I'll put Quanky lower. He's always average. Come on, I don't.
That's harsh.
I think. I don't know. Who would I swap?
You know, the thing is with football managers, you kind of like them from the outset or you don't. And you rate them when they're doing well. And then when they're doing bad, you're like, I've always said this. Rubbish manager.
They're always a divided opinion, aren't they?
Yeah. So this is what it's like.
To do everyone just couldn't stand.
Yeah, this is why people. It's about everyone's opinion. But like I say, we come here. Yeah, there's nothing else to talk about. But
how many Forest fans? It'd be interesting now to see a poll that someone would do. Is how many Forest fans actually didn't want Steve Cooper 10 games ago? Do you know what I mean? Because everyone tarted Wilder about, and it'd just be good to see how many people didn't want him and would turn around and say, hold their hands up and go, I was wrong for these last 10 games.
Dylan, what I'd heard, I wasn't enamoured with Steve Cooper. What I'd heard, and again, that's the problem, isn't it? You know, I watch a lot of football. But I wasn't excited by Cooper.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying.
But I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with your point. Yeah. I wasn't excited by him. I thought, oh God, it's going to be the same dour crap.
I was Wilder. I wanted Wilder because of what he'd done. But obviously,
the thing was, a lot of Swansea fans were saying, "Oh, he plays exactly the same as Houghton." Now I can say for a fact, after watching him for these games, he does not play the same as Houghton. They were just pulling it because they didn't want to lose him. They were pulling one.
Well, what Cooper's been doing is been watching DoreOnTour and listening to all of
Exactly. I think when Mr. Dole gets to speak to him again, should get him on here.
I said about taking Feegs off and having like 4 at the back, and then he done it last game, so maybe he does.
But yeah, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. If anyone wants to see another tier list, it could be like players. I'm not doing a players list because if I put players list, I know where to listen to put Colback. You put Colback as elite.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not that.
So people, if you want to see any more of this tier list making, put the comments below. We could do best strikers, best.
We could do 90 minutes on João Carvalho.
Have it.
Des,
I've heard he's not even there anymore.
Des, he's going to failure for me. He always going to failure.
I tell you what, I'll disprove that because when Mr. Dore was talking to Campbell, João Carvalho walked directly past me, so he's definitely.
Oh yeah, you was down at the City Ground, weren't you?
He walked into the gates, so he was definitely there that afternoon. And
you should have got him on camera.
Yeah, I should have, yeah.
Should have said to him, "Are you going to play?"
I should have, but he might have fell over when I shouted his name.
But yeah, people, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Speak of the English, that's why they said.
But it's been a pleasure, people. Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you, Des, for doing daily. Well, Des daily, do daily. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Des, what are you on?
What am I on?
Subscribe wise.
170. Come on. There's probably 30 people watching this now that can go and subscribe to it.
People, please go on Do Daily. Go on, get Des to 200 subscribers by the end of the year because
What's Monday's video where I get on my soapbox?
I enjoy it because I see I said these where people call me Mr. Do-Gooder. So yeah, go and watch Des's YouTube channel. It's really great. People, if you enjoy it, just go and subscribe to his channel. But yeah, as well, Dylan, thank you very much for coming on. I know Dylan's not spoken much.
Going through the pain. I've had to go through the pain.
But people, don't give any sympathy to him. You don't deserve it. Don't give any sympathy to him.
I don't need sympathy.
You don't need it.
But, I don't even get it at home.
That's great. That's what matters. Well, people, if you are new to our channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. And like I said, if you want to see any more of this tier list, contact me, and then we'll do it again. But like I said, last but not least, I'm gonna make a cup of tea because everyone knows the Derby lot. Again, they've gone. Who wants to explain to it more? Who wants
9 points?
More 9 points.
But like to get 9 points.
But,
another 9 points.
It's like it's none of my business. I'm going to drink this Lucasade. But like I said, people, hopefully, Derby. I feel like crying. I feel like crying at this moment.
What with laughter?
No, I think we should feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for Derby County. I feel sorry for him. I want to cry.
I feel sorry for the fans, to tell you the truth, in a way, because
Dylan, I don't care. sod him. I don't care. Right, people, I'll see you soon. And like I said, thank you for the boys. And like I said, up the forest.
Joking is